Welcome to this very special celebration of your Paralympic sailing team. Australian Sailing particularly welcomes, obviously, most importantly, the partners, family and friends, and we thank you for your wonderful contribution and the backup that you give our tremendous Australian Paralympic sailors. A couple of apologies. A couple of apologies from Glenn Tasker, the President of the Australian Paralympic Committee, and Lynn Anderson. Both were trying to get here. Obviously not as strong as the sailing athletes, because they had to go home a bit tired and worn out, but they send their thanks, and Matt Allen will talk more to that. Kerry Turner from the New South Wales Government, Department of Sport and Rec, Vice Presidents Neil Anderson and Jack Price of Sailability New South Wales, Anne Babcock, Brett Pearce and Neil Patterson, Australian Sailing Squad, and parasailers.
And Amy Barbrook.
Yeah, you too. Okay, good, thank you. That's why I've got Liesl here. Partners, the Australian Sailing Team, the Australian Sports Commission and DB Shanker. Of course, representatives from the CYCA, Royal Prince Alfred and Middle Harbour Yacht Club. And our board, we're having a board meeting later today, Matt Allen, Vice President Sarah Kenny and the rest of the board members. But a special welcome though to Lachlan Gilbert, Australian Paralympic coach for 2000 and 2004, and to Greg Hyde, 1984 Olympian who campaigned for the 2006 Paralympics. And of course our very special guests, great to see them come down, our Rio Olympians, Liesl, Tom Burton, and I think Jamie Ryan was coming. If she's here, welcome. If she's still coming, welcome. 20 years ago, sailing was introduced as a demonstration sport at the 1996 Atlanta Paralympic Games. Gained full medal status at the Sydney 2000, where we won a gold medal in the Sonar. Represented but didn't get to the podium in Athens, and in Beijing 2008 we finished with 2 medals, silver and bronze. In London 2012 we got a gold in the Scud, which is the first gold in sailing since Sydney in 2000. And so to Rio 2016, trumped them all. 3 medals, 2 gold and 1 silver out of 3 events. I don't know many other sports that can claim that. So this makes the Australian Sailing Paralympic team our most successful ever. To officially welcome home and congratulate our sailors, coaches and team management, please welcome the President of Australian Sailing, Matt Allen.
Well, welcome everybody. It really does give me great pleasure to be standing here with the most successful Paralympic sailing team in the history of the world. Well done, guys. It's just an amazing effort. You really did the country proud. And can I just say, you've all been an absolute inspiration, I think, to disabled people right around the country and the rest of the world, but especially to all the sailors in the country. And we've had messages of encouragement from far and wide over the past few weeks. Some of the scorecards that we went through, and I just want to take you through because they are unbelievable. If I could start with the Sonar, and I might leave my glasses, I think I could just read this. Listen to the scorecard. 1, 2, 5, 7, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. 26 points. Daylight was second. The silver medalist was at 44 points. Well done, guys, and I know you've all put an enormous amount of work into it all. I know Colin, fourth Paralympics in a row. You know, that's a huge amount of effort, and what a terrific way to cap it off. Second medal for both Russell and yourself, and I think you guys should be incredibly proud. You look like you just hit form at the right time and just kept going the whole way, and just a terrific effort. Also like to to thank the rest of the team, but I will do that in a minute. But certainly to Grant Alderson, the coach of the Sonar, well done, because it's all about the team. Now to the Scud, Daniel, Liesl. I know you guys have put a lot of work in, and you work very closely as a team, and we've seen that on so many occasions. And Daniel, you certainly don't seem to be able to get far away when Liesl's around. She's always got you in check, or so it seems. But this is probably the best scorecard at this level I've ever seen, and if I've seen a better one, I've forgotten about it. I don't think it exists. A 1, a 2, that was their drop, by the way. A 1, a 2, a 1, a 1, 1, and a 2. It must have been brutal coming second to you guys, so that's all I can say. That is unbelievable. It really is. And so, also, I think it's fair to say, back-to-back gold medals in Paralympic sailing has actually never been done before. So, an amazing achievement for you guys to go back-to-back golds, first time in the history of Paralympic sailing. Incredible. Yep. And last but not least, the Tassie boy, Matthew Bugg. Matthew, what a great effort in the 2.4. Just sensational effort. It really was, a tight match the whole way through. The point score was always tight, and I think validated by the standard of sailing the 2.4s, where, some America's Cup sailors didn't end up on the podium, if I could put it that way. And Matthew, you had the whole of Australia behind you, and I think you should be so happy with coming out of an amazingly tight point score with a terrific effort and a silver medal. So it's all about the athletes, but it is all about the team. And I think the Australian sailing team has shown through both the Olympics and the Paralympics, it is all about the team. And I just wanted to also mention the other coaches, to Jeff Woolley in the Scud 18s and to Richard Scarr in the other 2.4. Well done to the coaches, because we know how important the coaching is, and I think especially when you're on probably one of the most difficult racetracks in the world, up there in Rio, it certainly requires a level head at all times. But I also want to thank the rest of the team, and there's quite a lot of people who have pulled together for many years to make this happen. And if I could, led by Peter Condy and his team, and Katie, and the rest of the team that were on the ground, with Mark Robinson, who's here. Well done, Mark, keeping all the team together. To Shelley Ferguson, to Andrew Lecty, Tim Lowe, Sarah Ross, Ryoko Yamaguchi, Shane Smith, Jared West, and Darren Bundock. Well done to the team. I think both the Paralympic and Olympic teams really did show the fact that working as a team all the way to the end of the regatta, and we saw that especially with the Olympians that finished on different days of the week. The whole team stayed together right to the end and operated as a team, and the results show that through. The headlines on the World Sailing website, I just want to read two of them out because they were just classic. It's never easy to get the headline on the World Sailing website, but eventually they couldn't hold it back any further. So the first one I saw that, and it was the day after a very didn't really mention the Australian sailors, but the next day we got Australia threatening a Rio sailing whitewash. Well, wasn't it a whitewash? And then the next day they had to back it up. They couldn't hold back any longer. It was an Aussie gold rush. You know, and that was great. And we should make sure we've got that screen prints for forever. Certainly, I'd like to record Australian Sailing's thanks to the Australian Paralympic Committee, the Australian Institute of Sport and the Australian Sports Commission for all their assistance to ensure that the successful team could be funded and managed the way that we've been able to do. And as Matt Carroll mentioned, Glenn Tasker, the President of the Australian Paralympic Committee, who is, I think, caught with a cold or wanted me to pass on to the team, you know, his congratulations. But also, he just said that, you know, the whole team operating in Rio operated at the highest level, and when I mean the highest level, not obviously on the water, but off the water as well. And you're an exemplary role models to the rest of the team. So he wanted me to pass that on. So you've certainly done us proud. One of the issues we've got going forward is that being the most successful Paralympic sailing team of all time, you're probably going to hold that mantle for some period of time. I think everybody's aware that unfortunately in Tokyo there will be no Paralympic sailing. It's obviously a great pity for the sport and for everybody involved. Can I just say, and obviously it is an issue with world sailing, but can I just assure everybody that Australian sailing will be doing as much as we possibly can to make sure it's included in the future. I can't give you any other promises than that, but there's a large team of people going across to Barcelona for the annual general meeting of World Sailing, and Sarah Kenny and myself and David Tillett and others will be working as hard as we possibly can for inclusion of Paralympic sailing going forward. So on that note, I'd like to say one more time, well done to everybody. You really have done the country proud. Congratulations.
Thanks, Matt. And as Matt mentioned, a lot of time and effort and dedication goes into the achievements of our gold and silver medalists with us today. And that doesn't happen on its own. And so to speak on behalf of the team, particularly of the team management, the coaches, the pleasure to congratulate our Australian Sailing Paralympic team leader, Mark Robinson.
Thanks, Matt. You'll have to forgive me if I sound a bit croaky. I've come down with a cold the last day of the regatta. As have a few of us. The teaspoon of cement, I think, is the cool. I'd like to thank on behalf of the team, thank the sailing fraternity for turning up today. So it's a wonderful turnout. We didn't actually have a formal turnout when we got off the plane, off the Qantas jet this morning at the airport. So it's great to have this for our sport in particular. It's good to know that so many people have been supporting us in the background. There's been lots of Facebook stuff going on throughout the regatta. And including the Olympic guys coming down today, so Liesl and Tom. It'll work eventually.
Yeah, just keep going.
For me, I've been to quite a few major games, mostly with other nations, but for me, I'm so proud to have led these guys and been given this opportunity to lead such a cohesive team. They exemplify the Australian sailing team.
Just a bit further away.
They exemplify the Australian sailing team's spirit, their determination, their resilience, and they're a very cohesive team. And I think that was probably the biggest thing from the outset when we landed and the venue opened on the 31st of August, was the fact that we were all joyful. We'd go in there, we would all help each other, we would be smiling, nothing was an issue, and all the other countries were starting to implode even before we got to the start of the regatta. So just that cohesiveness, that willing to help each other out when someone was down, pull them up again, really contributed to the success. It allowed them to lead from the outset. So in all the classes, they went out on the first few days and were already in strong commanding positions. A lot of that is due to the effort they put in, particularly over the last 12 months in their preparation, their boat speed, their sails designed by Andrew Lectie for 2 of the classes that came to the team. And obviously the work that the coaches put in the last 12 months. And in particular, I think with Peter and Katie, with the work that the Olympic program did on the meteorology, wind and tide, it just made our life so much easier because we only had about half the opportunities to go and train there. We did 3 trips with the Scud and 2 with the other classes. But just knowing that that depth of information, that local knowledge was there, that we could rely on, we could trust, was a massive difference compared to other nations. As Peter said, given that most Paralympic teams don't travel to these venues as often, it was probably even a bigger incremental performance gain than it was in the Olympic Games. And in that regard, we had a few Olympic coaches back here that were dissecting the information each day. So we had Bundy, Shane and Jared. They're putting together little playbooks that would just give us a bit more time to not have to digest hundreds of pages of data each morning, allow the guys to be fresh, focused, and just know the key points. Matt and Matt have already thanked everybody by name in the team, but I've just got a few standout ones. On the official side, I'd like to thank Shelley. So, like our Olympic team, we were staying out of the village to avoid having the hour-and-a-half bus trip each way every day. Shelley managed to keep the apartment running as Katie did with the Olympic team. It was just an enormous benefit for us to come home and nothing was an issue. You know, there was dinner on the table, whatever we needed, athletes, coaches or anyone, it was not a problem. Obviously the coaches did a fantastic job, but in particular on the technical side, I'd like to thank Andrew Lectie. I think out of the officials, he was the linchpin, if you like. So Andrew's part of our broader Australian sailing team technical programs led by Peter Logan. He's been there, I don't know how many times. Andrew probably doesn't want to know how many times. It's been 10, 15 times in the last 4 years. But Andrew would lead the weather briefings each morning, just his intimate knowledge of the venue. He was able to give calm, specific information that allowed the athletes and coaches to just go out and do what they needed to do on the race course. So well done, Andrew. Thank you. And to the athletes, I'll probably do them by class and probably in the same order as Matt. With the Sonar guys, obviously the elder statesman of the team, led by Papa John. With these guys, they were very diligent in their information gathering, very diligent in their preparation. I think that showed during the regatta. Again, they led from the front and never looked back, really. The Scuds, what can you say, Dan and Liesl, back-to-back gold medals with almost a picket fence. It was getting a bit pedestrian, but there was a good fight for silver and bronze. Our training partners, Canada, got up over the British, which was good. And last but certainly not least, Buggy in the 2.4. We always said the 2.4 is the toughest fleet. It's got the most entries. It's got America's Cup sailors in there. Buggy also, led from the outset, very determined, very fastidious isn't the right word, but yeah, very particular in his boat preparation, so much so we had to say, just get on the water, will you, and go sailing. That was Andrew's job. But we had, the penultimate day, Buggy had a bad day. We had 2 races, one where the steering broke, he was in the lead, ended up with the 14th, and then we had a close port starboard cross in the second race, which ended up in a DSQ. So Buggy, Andrew and I were up most of the night talking to Peter Condy and David Tillett back here in Australia, trying to get the case reopened the next morning, which we did manage to get it reopened. Buggy went in there and represented himself very well. Came out thinking, look, I've got a shot at getting this overturned. In the end, they listened to it but didn't overturn the DSQ, so he had 15 minutes roughly to get over that, get in the boat and go and race. And the points were basically 4th, the America's Cup sailor, was a few points behind him, so we had to make sure he wasn't going to get attacked by that, a bit like the Tom Burton scenario in the Olympics. And the guys in front, he couldn't really do anything about. The Frenchman and Helena, the GBR girl, were going to battle it out for gold and silver, so we thought. So all Buggy could do was, which is what he did perfectly, gave the US guy a little tickle up at the start, and then took off like Tom Burton. And so he won the race. That was all he could do. Had to wait for the others to finish to see where he ended up, whether it was going to still be the bronze that he went into that race, or whether it was going to be the silver. And he didn't really know until Richard came over and told him. There's this classic photo. I don't know whether it's up here, but it's just Buggy like this in the boat. And so for me, out of all the athletes, Buggy gets my man of the match. We're never giving up, Buggy. We're never giving up.
I'm spewing we got that second, mate.
So thank you once again for coming. It's so great to see such a big Australian contingent come out to support these guys. It's good to know that everybody cares about Paralympic sailing and cares about the hard work that these guys have put in and the achievement they so duly deserve. So thank you.
Thanks, Mark. We've heard from a few officials and from our team leader. The most important people in the room, of course, the sailors, because the sailors do the sailing. And so we're just going to ask them a couple of simple questions each. And I'm going to break with the previous order. I'm going to start with Matt Bugg, our Paralympian silver medalist.
Where's the sweet spot for this one?
I think you're going quite well there, mate. Don't worry about that.
You got a good one.
But I think, as Mark has alluded to, a tough call in race 10, but you came out strongly in the medal race. As Mark said, the bookies had you pegged at bronze, so managing that disappointment and then rising the occasion. Just gives you a quick few thoughts on how all that felt.
It was tough. I've certainly never experienced the roller coaster of emotions that I felt on the penultimate night, leading into the next morning. I got very little sleep. I found every time I fell asleep, I woke up dreaming of what was going to happen the next day, trying to get the protest overheard and or listen to it again. So it was really tough, and to be so close to a gold medal, and then I actually really thought that the bronze medal was going to be the only shot that I had, and to go from gold to bronze just with one decision that was really out of my hands was really tough to swallow. And then of course, when we had the protest and they didn't change their decision, knowing that I then had to go out and basically match race Dee Smith, who really didn't even have to finish the race, he just had to make sure I finished worse than 10th, which would then give him the bronze and me lose it. So first of all, losing the protest, the reopening of that, and then knowing that I was about to go out and face down, an America's Cup tactician for some meter boat match racing was pretty tough. And then of course, we the 5-minute gun came, and of course there was Dee right behind me, and we tussled, and I managed to get the upper hand on him, which I was pretty happy with. And then I basically controlled him into the start, and then it was a bloody general recall, so he had to do it all over again. I went into the final race knowing that to have any shot at bronze, I had to sail well and certainly get away from Dee at the beginning. And I knew that there was, I think I said to Mark just before the start, that there was a very small chance I could get silver, and if that was to happen, I just had to win the race. and I knew that, and so that was really my plan, was to go out and try and first of all get rid of the pesky American and deal with that first, and then worry about winning the race. And yeah, that's what I did. And luckily, Helen had a bad race, and I got the silver medal. So, you know, from feeling terrible the night before to feeling just thrilled the next afternoon. Yeah, it was amazing, an amazing experience, and it was really good to do it with this wonderful team, great bunch of guys. Really good coach, yeah, a real feeling of family with the rest of the Paralympic team, and you know, I think we certainly had it in spades over every other nation when it came to being such a good bunch of guys. So yeah, it was great.
I read in your bio, because you're a chef, so I was just going to ask the rest of the team, how were the meals in Rio?
Fantastic.
Oh, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And the other occupation you do is a bit of wheelchair basketball. I can probably get you a run with the Australian wheelchair rugby team, if you like. If you put it down the 2020, you know, do a Liesl swap.
Yeah. I have considered that. I was sitting next to one of the wheelchair basketballers on the way home, so he gave me all the tips of what I needed to know. And my old man's very good at welding too, so I hear that it's very good. It's a very good skill to have, I think.
Well, congratulations, Matt Bugg, Paralympian silver medalist. 3 men in a boat. Colin Harrison, Jonathan Harris, and Russell Broaden, golf obviously coached by Grant Orlison. So Colin, as Matt's already said, you've done this a few times. At what point when you realised that you know, during the racing the gold was yours for the taking?
Well, I think after an initial solid start to the event, avoiding that mid-regatta slide where we could come off the boil a little bit, and keeping the results up in the top 3, 4, gave us a really good shot, put us into the second last day in a great position with a couple of good races to know that we were in with a good chance of taking out the gold. So I think that's really where we all of a sudden felt that this is certainly within reach.
So if you want to pass to the elder statesman there. Jonathan, you've done a fair bit of sailing.
Yeah.
You're a grandfather.
Yeah.
You're certainly a testimony that sailing's a sport for life. That's right. I've got a straight sense of humour. So, but where does this achievement sit in Jonathan Harris's life?
Oh, look, it's the absolute number one, and probably will be until I get a job as a wing controller in one of the AC catamarans. I did see Glenn Ashby at Lake Garda, and I did put it to him that after the games I'm free. I'm just expecting when I get home this afternoon there'll be a telex waiting for me.
So Russell, the youngest of the crew, the bronze in Beijing, gold in Rio. How's it feel?
Feels really good.
Man of many
Perhaps
words.
another word?
Awesome. It's just good to have done it finally. So we've been chasing it for a while. So to do it the way we've done it was pretty good.
Well, congratulations to Colin, Jonathan and Russell, Paralympic gold medalists. So we move to the A team within the team, and as Matt Allen has already alluded to, you know, the first sailors in the history of the Paralympic to defend the title, which is a pretty fantastic achievement in itself. With 2 races to spare on day 5, so the final race actually became a victory lap, but like true champions, the victory lap was the second, which is pretty damn good. So if I could ask Liesl to look after your offside of there, so we can get a word in. So Dan, in the early days of racing, some of the most, you said the most challenging conditions you'd ever found, you'd ever experienced, I beg your pardon. What were your tactics in those early days?
Yeah, we spent most of our week on Sugarloaf course, which is right underneath Sugarloaf Mountain. It's pretty much the most difficult course on the week, so we've been there quite a number of times before. How to do a suka?
Portuguese, who don't speak Portuguese.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time there, and really, because of the whirlwind tides and the wind that can come from either side of the Sugarloaf Mountain, at any point we're a bit concerned about it. But look, the third time we went there, we got a bit more comfortable. We just have to keep your eyes out of the boat and I guess it's like any other venue. Just go yacht racing. We decided and we did.
And did it very well. So Liesl, 2 silver and a bronze in basketball. Well, Dan was the one that convinced you to move to sailing, so obviously he's a pretty good talker. Back-to-back golds in sailing, obviously a good move.
Absolutely a fantastic move. Absolutely fantastic move. It actually started here at the CYC with Sailors with Disabilities, and there's people that we did the Hobart with out here in the audience. That was the initial impetus to get this going.
And Rio itself.
Oh, Rio was just an absolute marvellous city. Like, it's just, and we went in there with all the treachery of the media and the fear and the frightening and then the difficulty of the whole course. But I think the Corazon, the beating heart of the people of Rio de Janeiro and the energy that came from the games was just something over and above the amazing sailing results. So we've all left, I think Matt summed it up, we've been an amazing, it's not a team, it really has been a family. The support within this group here has been so deep. Tim Lowe, our incredible boat builder who's been with Dan since Beijing, definitely deserves a particular mention in the group. What's about Timmy? Timmy's like the glue in the Scud program, you know, he's always working hard, we're always breaking stuff. And
he hasn't even fixed my medal yet.
A rattling medal.
And he's always looking after the boat and making sure it's 100%, and we've been working together since Beijing, and with our 2 golds and the silver makes us the most successful Paralympic sailing team in history, so we couldn't do better. Thanks Tim for your effort, and if he was paid per hour, this yacht club would be bankrupt, I think. Thanks Timmy. Within the team, but also I think for me the support of the sailing community that has just embraced Paralympic sailing and really been behind us from the other side of the world. We felt the energy and support from all of you and everyone around Australia for what's gone on over there on that tough sailing conditions in Rio. So thank you very much on behalf of all of us to all of you for supporting us.
Yeah. Thanks, Liesl. I always like enough way into another question. So outside of sailing, you co-founded Sport Matters, and as Matt Allen alluded to, we're not in the 2020 games.
Matt Allen also said Yachting Australia is prepared to do anything to help, so...
So if you had a sentence or 2 sentences to say to the International Paralympic Committee to readmit sailing the 2024 games, how would you sum it up?
I think it's so important that we really work together as an international sailing community, not just for the Paralympic sailing, but for international sailing, to see that sailors with disabilities are on the water in 2020 in some shape or form, with a very loud and vibrant face, in boats that work for elite sailing, and that we are in the games in 2024. So people like Amy Barnbrook and Brett Pearce and Neil Patterson, who have been our fantastic sailing partners, have got a chance to put on this green and gold and share the glory.